All right, so you just said you had a meditation that you did this morning. What was it? What was your meditation?
On my mama, on my hood, I look fly. I look. Everybody
That's
think
what I'm talking
meditation is
about. See,
supposed to
that's why
be
you on the
all
show.
the ohms and peaceful. Sometimes it's not.
Well, I did
Sometimes
the
it's
ohms
not.
and the loms and the yams and the roms, and today I did. However, I can did that. I can get with that too. But yes, yes, yes. Kottavei, you're back on my
I'm back.
relaunch
I'm back. I got
episode.
the ohms too. It wasn't that kind of morning though. I gotta
I am
adjust.
super excited. I missed you so much. So I know you as high school teacher, solo
Yeah.
traveler, foodie, and cooking therapist. I like to call you winemaker, artist,
Yeah.
painter, body cast maker, a self-published
Yeah.
author, and
Yeah.
a poet. A single mom of 5 kings, two
Yeah.
sets of twins. That's a
Yeah.
whole nother
Yeah.
conversation to have.
Whole
How
nother
would
one.
you describe yourself? How do you identify? Like, give me your background. Give us the 411 on Kottavei. Go.
For a long time, well, a couple of things. I used to say I'm an artist, I'm an artist, I'm an artist. And that is a part of who I am. But even more than that, I'm a maker. I make
Yes.
food. I make
Yes.
art. I
Yes.
make other creatives out in the world. I make babies. Okay, but them days are over.
Yes.
No more babies. But I'm a maker of things. And I found that if I limit myself, I get miserable. Like right now, literally right now, I just painted my first painting last night I've done in months. Because I've
Wow.
been using cooking as a medium lately, cooking and baking instead of painting. So I have to circle back around different
Right.
stuff cycles. And even when I was a kid, everybody's like, oh my God, oh my God. Oh, you must have always wanted to be an artist when you grew up. But a lot of people don't know. I wanted to be a nomad more than the artist. I was PBS, Smithsonian, National Geographic. I wanted to go where all those people were going. So that was like
Right.
my first thing. And then, of course, getting married, getting divorced, having 5 sunshines. I'm just now getting back to my nomadic self. That's why I stay gone. Stay gone.
Girl, I know. Isn't
Stay
that
gone.
funny how life just goes like full circle because you have these ideas and concepts about what you think you're gonna do, and then it take you all
Yeah.
like twists and turns. Still good, but
Yeah.
you can never imagine like what it actually turned out. And then you always, if you want to, which is
Yeah.
what Elevate the Good is about, return back to yourself. Sometimes
Right.
you don't even get a glimpse of that because you went all off into something else first before
Well,
you got
then
a
your
chance to
younger
know
self is
yourself.
different from your older self. Like I'm still the core, the same person, but the women I've been, nobody will ever know all the women inside of me, least of all me.
That part.
So I tell people, they're like, oh my God, you travel alone. You're not scared to travel alone. First of all, don't hand me your fear. I'm going to be out in this world no matter
I
what.
love it.
Do
Exactly.
not hand me
Exactly.
your fear. But also, when I'm here, like you said, I'm somebody's teacher, I'm somebody's mama, I'm somebody's something. When I travel, I'm all of me to myself.
Just you, yes. And people are
All
like,
of
oh,
me
you
to
be traveling
myself.
by yourself. I'm like, yeah, I prefer it that way because I don't want to be on anyone else's agenda, schedule, concept. And I love all types of travel, but
Yep.
I've done all kinds of travel in the high resorts and the this and the other. But at the end
Yeah.
of the day, look, I like roughing it, being in the
Yeah.
moment, spontaneous, meeting the locals. I don't want to keep doing the same thing we doing. I don't want to do the swim up to the bar thing at the
No.
hotel. I
That's
didn't
not
come out
even
of
how
town
I
to go stay at the
travel.
hotel. It's like I
Like I
just
did the
didn't.
Peace Corps in my 20s, so I can go with very little. My backpack has been to probably 10 countries. I will roll some clothes, throw some toothpaste in there, and hit the airport and be able to
Girl,
go.
literally all I need is a backpack or a duffel bag or whatever. Because
Yeah.
I worked this one gig for the postseason baseball season, like
Oh, nice.
the playoffs and the World Series end up being all that for a whole month.
Yeah.
And I had just one bag I was rolling out with. But
Yeah.
my coworkers, girl, they had big old rolling 2 and 3 bags, and they were
No,
like, "Why
no.
are you?" I'm like, first of all, we going to the same place every day. We even though different cities, but we wearing the same thing. Why would I
Every
be
day.
traveling? I mean, it was just amazing. And then so many people, and especially women, this is going to be a whole new thing on Elevate to Get
Yeah.
about solo travel, or maybe another channel, but who have never traveled alone or have these fears, or
Well,
like they
and like I
can't
said,
do it
people will
without a
hand you
group.
there. people will hedge their fears. Like, here, I'm afraid for you. And I was like, no, thank you.
No,
But
don't be,
I,
because I'm in the moment. Because there are times like on this latest freedom pilgrimage I've been on, my spiritual journey, before I came to St. Louis, because honey, I need to get that energy right before I come
right,
back into
right,
my
right,
hometown after 30 some
right.
years being gone. But yeah, I kept going to the beach in between. And most of the time, girl, I was getting in the car, jumping in the car, and I was in the, Atlanta was still my base. And I didn't know where I was going in Florida. I knew it was Florida because I just needed to be the Gulf Coast. So I knew
Yeah,
that
yeah.
part. And it could have been Alabama. I was like all over. But I literally would just get up, and then my bestie and them would be like, my god baby's like, where are you going out, Carl? I'm like, I don't know. And I'm
Mhm.
out. And I literally would just drive, and let my spirit take me, and then end up somewhere. And then be like, oh, I guess I give me an Airbnb. Pull up my phone, boom,
I
get me
used to
an
do that in
Airbnb.
my
And
20s,
call
and
it a
this was
day.
just on the cusp of cell phones. Get my car, drive, and end up where I lay. Like, people here, and this is real for real, and it may be a little bit like controversial. And I have walked around at night, Colombia,
Yes.
Portugal, Morocco. I felt safer walking around in some other countries at night as a Black woman than I feel walking around during the daytime in America,
Because you can.
because I
Because you
can.
can.
No one's bothering me. As a matter of fact, they're very helpful. Go here if you want to have a drink. Go here if you want good food.
Right.
Oh, my mom and them are cooking. Let's eat outside. I've been more part of a lot of communal things.
That
My
part.
son, my sons and I got invited down to the DR, met a lovely couple when I was just on a trip in Portugal with their daughters. Daughters fell in love with me, and they were like, "Oh, you should come down to one of our houses down into the DR." And okay, so we're going in
Yeah,
December.
girl, I need some friends like that, or some run-ins like that.
The
That's
shadows,
to me is life. Because you in the moment, your spirit is going to guide you in those moments.
Yeah.
Everything doesn't have to be planned and plotted out and have an agenda. And like I said, I can be somewhere and have a plan for the day, a plan, and then people are like, well, have you ever fill in the blank?
Mhm.
And I'm like, no. I'm in, let's
Let's
go.
go.
And I'd rather be with the locals,
Yeah,
because now you're doing something that is different, which is the whole point of going to, in my opinion, I'll put it like that, my
right.
purpose of going to a new location. Even if I'm in Florida, I don't do the same thing over and over and over, except for
I
I'm
want
at
to
the beach. When I'm at
enjoy
the beach, I'm at
culture.
the beach. Because then there are
Yeah,
times I've traveled with people, get a beach house, and they're like, okay, what we get ready to do? I'm like,
dude, I want to lay here.
what we did, we doing it. This
All this
is it.
nature. And I
This
do love
is it.
nature. So everywhere I go, I make sure I
Absolutely.
do some things outside and just go to countries and enjoy them, or even here enjoy it. Like, literally, all five of my sons have passports now, because
Nice.
it's important. Being a single mom, I wasn't able to do it until now, but now I did it. And so I call my younger twins my broke best friends. They like, where we going? Can we go with you? And
I
I'm like, oh,
love it though,
my
because you
budget
gave
just
them a
went up.
glimpse. It's in them now. The same way my
Yeah,
grandmother gave me a glimpse when I was 7, 8, 9, started flying, on a plane and going to Mexico and Canada and, the West Coast, and seeing the ocean for the
yeah,
first time when I was like 8, and like,
yeah,
oh my God, it changed my whole life. She just let me know not only was I worthy of
yeah,
something else, but that there's another world that is accessible to you. So she made sure I did fine dining and museums and classical
yeah,
music, and then we did the regular, downtown, go shopping, but it was, she
yeah,
made sure I had a glimpse. So I never would forget that something else is available and get stuck, and that
yeah.
I'm not worthy, because it didn't hit me until I was in my 40s, and I remember crying so hard when it hit me that, oh my God, that's why it was so important for her to take me places, because she was
Yeah.
taking me to the very places she couldn't even walk through the front door.
She's
Because my
exposing
grandmother was
you.
born in 1924. So it didn't even dawn on me how much it meant to her that she was gifting me. And I'm everything because of her. I mean, some other
And
people
my
in there,
parents
mama
didn't
know.
take us out of the country when we were little, but both of them were scientists. So my dad's lab was in the forest. I'd run around the forest.
That's
But they
right,
took us to
yeah.
the national parks. Old school station wagon with the wood on the side,
Oh,
with the
we
back
had one,
seat that
girl. We
flipped
had
up
one
and
I
looked out the
inherited.
back.
Look, I inherited that, our station wagon. We called it the swag, and it was blue with the wood on the
Yeah.
side, girl. Look,
But the way they would pack us up and take us to see our auntie and
I
uncles in
love it.
Connecticut and Niagara Falls and go to the national parks. I still like a good national park. And when I go to a country, I try and go to their national park,
Right,
their
right.
botanical
Yes.
garden, their museum. I want to feel the culture of it. And the funny thing too, because if we talk about Atlanta, I don't typically don't date here because I'm still single. But dudes here be like, oh, look, oh, yeah, oh man, you the best woman I ever seen. Well, where you been? Nowhere. So how you know that? You
And it's
don't. Like,
because you're not at the bar, you're not at the club, you're not, and I'm not downing and saying everybody in Atlanta's not like that. But the
right.
energy, like we talked before we got on,
Yeah,
recorded, Atlanta's just different. And so there is
it's
this
very
sense of
different.
being and doing and moving and whatever. And it's like, but y'all not going on no hikes. So that's why I started doing through Elevate the Good, even though we were just doing it in my
Yeah,
friends and groups. We would go tubing down to Chattahoochee. And people were
yep,
like, oh my God. And okay, but it's so dirty. And, had this whole list of things. And I'm like, just
mm-mm.
come. And now they like, every year. So when we going? When we going? And then the group
Yeah. My
gets bigger and
girlfriends are
bigger
like gang, gang. Like today,
because
I'm going
it's
to
just
restorative yoga later.
relaxing. And because one of my friends, he showed up, girl, he had a whole outfit on, shoes, like nothing, had a scully on, like a whole outfit. And I was like, so where are you going? I know I sent you the link and you saw the pictures, but now when he showed up, he like all in. And like
Yeah,
you, I love national parks. So I'm a hiker. I'll go by myself. I don't need
yeah,
nobody. Now, if
yeah,
you come along, come on. But I do the what's that, Silver Common Trail? I may ride
yeah,
my bike,
yeah,
I may be on my skates, I may run, I may just be walking, but then people don't realize there's some little trails off to the side. Like I'm that
yeah,
person. I don't have that kind of fear. And then, like Stone Mountain is one of my favorite places because of where it is on the energy grid. It is highly energized, and especially as
yeah,
melanated people,
yeah.
that's our
And
place.
especially with the
I don't care
background of
what
it.
they did with it statewide, but people, especially melanated people, I ain't going to no Stone Mountain. You need to go to Stone Mountain, put your energy on it so we can
And leave it
reclaim it. That's
there.
why I walk around it and walk around it and walk around it. And you get to the top, it is a whole different energy. And there's so many lovely trails in Stone
Yeah.
Mountain that people have never gone on. I can get lost on all day long.
And
Ain't never
everybody
seen.
talks about like Kottavei, you're always going. How do you go? You're a teacher, you're a single parent. I have a budget because I'm fiscally responsible.
I
There's a
love it.
line item in my budget that says Kottavei's well-being.
Oh, I love it. See, this is why you don't
Period.
elevate the good girl. This is why. So
Kottavei's
tell
well-being. And
me,
if you are
tell
not
me.
accounting for yourself, what's that saying? If your compassion doesn't include yourself, it's incomplete. I always say this. I'm gonna get on a shirt. I give me what I want because I love her.
I love it. I love it because I'm a hyper empath. So it's like
Yeah.
internally, I absolutely love myself and do all that. But
Yeah.
I finally adjusted myself over the last couple of years to putting myself first again, because
Yeah.
again, hyper empath, you put everyone else first in service.
Yeah.
So it's like I had it backwards, but now I got empty, hence and therefore the pilgrimage
But as
that I had to
women, we
shut
have to
down.
learn that, like, particularly in our communities, everybody's like, they honor you when you like die on the sword for everybody else and bleed out. But nobody honors you when you say, I'm choosing me first. Like people always like, oh, my kids are not my life. I love them and they know that, right? They are a part of my life. I was a whole being, a whole woman before I was ever married, before I ever had kids, and have stayed whole. And so now
Right.
when I travel, my older twins like, just drop our brothers off or we'll come stay at the house. Bye. Because they saw me literally doing that thing where I died on the sword, and they were like, that's not a good look. And I don't want them to choose women that are sacrificing themselves to be partners with them. That's not
Right.
what we're doing in this next season and iteration of partnership and love. It's going to be a reciprocal environment where everybody get their needs met, everybody, and not two halves
Balance.
make a whole or two people come together and make a greater whole and build something meaningful. And that's another reason why I'm single.
And
My
that, and that's where we all got off. And a lot of people, and one of the reasons why Elevate the Good is something, because it was a mantra, because I hit a wall. You know how much outreach I was doing,
yeah.
getting people
Girl.
houses and apartments and furniture and getting them out of their,
And I
sleeping in their
remember when you
cars
purged. I remember
and,
when you purged. Yeah.
girl, and it was right. And then, people sleeping in their cars, and veterans, who couldn't even get a housing, sleeping on the streets, and, Christmas, school stuff. Like I burned out, not because, even during the shutdown,
Yeah.
we had 6, 7 pantries throughout Atlanta, metropolitan area where people can get free food and diapers
Yeah.
and masks, all that stuff. I love doing it. It wasn't that. But I did honestly hit a wall. And I actually did the pantry project along with some sponsors while I was like I couldn't take it no more, but that was just too big, like, because people were really struggling. But all
So
that
you
to
just said
say,
something about that wall, though.
girl, that
I have
wall,
this
not only
saying.
was it a wall, I hit it and it crumbled down on top of me. And it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. And Elevate the Good came from that, because I was already going through a thing. And that this was a mantra that was given to me by spirit to elevate the good within myself, because I wasn't looking at the good in myself. So it literally was not a business or anything. It was like, elevate the good, Carla. Okay, elevate the good. Spirit kept giving me that. And it's so funny, fast forward 5 years later, recently, Spirit been saying, now, it really was just for you. We didn't mean for you to like do a whole platform, whatever. And it cracks me
But
up,
this
because
is
that,
good.
again, is what I do. I
It's
take
needed.
stuff and how can I help somebody else with it? But now Spirit is like, but you good. We got you. It's a great platform because you are doing it with love and compassion. And now is ramping back up. So I love that you opened the door on that. So can you tell me now, what are your plans travel wise? I happen to know, I think, if you want people to know, you're
Yeah.
going to Costa Rica.
Yeah. Okay. So I had to flip some stuff this week because I
Okay,
was
because
waiting on this
Costa Rica, my
residency
home,
I
my
didn't get.
second home, girl. I love
So
me some Costa Rica.
it's on the list for this year, but my next up coming up in less than a month, I'm going to Finland and Iceland.
Nice.
And then
How
I'm
long? For
going
how
to
long?
and then I'm over a week. And then I'm
Lovely.
going to Belize in June,
Huh?
and then Spain. And then I'm taking the sunshines with me to Costa Rica and my bonus son. So 6 boys, men, young.
Lovely.
And then we're gonna wrap
Lovely.
up the year in the DR. So that's the plan, but it shifts and changes. Like it's like, oh, okay. But I'm definitely, I don't feel right unless I got a trip on the books. And my sister gifted me this book a couple of years ago. I don't know if you know it, Catch Me If You Can. She's the first
No.
person to ever go to every country in the world, and it's a sister.
Oh, I
She's
need to.
Ugandan, but she grew up in Detroit, and she has all these notes. So for me, like you'll see, I got tabs in it. So for
Right,
me
right,
now,
right.
this is a checklist,
I love it, because
and
I
I
know
have
you do your you could for you do patches. You
I
collect
do
patches.
patches on my jacket. Every country. I'm not a shopper. My
Me
whole
neither.
philosophy around things is all I need is less. And so just for the memories, I do the patches on my denim
Right,
jacket.
right.
I did bring spices back from Morocco and Thailand, but I don't go visit countries to shop. I go there to, and
Mm-mm.
I don't need shot glasses or magnets, but I have those. And people ask me like, why do you do this now? And I was like, raising 5 sons by myself, physically and financially. If I think back, you said 5 years. When you said something about a wall a minute ago, I told somebody in my life 5 years ago, imagine being in a dark room and there's no light and you running at full steam. You know you're
I
gonna hit the
remember.
wall eventually, but you don't know
I
when.
remember. Yeah,
It's
I
like
remember.
drowning in a teaspoon of life.
That's why
Um,
I really am excited that you're the first guest on the relaunch, because I'm going to encourage people to also, and I'm going to put a link in the description for
yeah.
them to go back to your first episode, our first chat,
Yeah.
to see the evolution and the growth and the expansion, because we kind of touched on it.
Yeah.
Not like you were like down, but it's just life,
It's a rough
But
space.
and
It
it's
was
right,
rough.
because I'm so proud of you and mostly excited for you, because I've been along your journey.
Yeah.
And to see that you don't ever give up, that you're gonna fight for yourself and fight for
Yeah.
life, no matter if you have your down times, and sometimes you think you're not gonna get up, but you do. You know what I mean? There is
Yeah,
a
I
way
tell
to
people, I was like,
always
I get
get up.
down, but I don't stay there.
Right. You know what I'm
And
saying? And
it's
my
true.
thing is, when I get down, I go in, because again, I'm a hyper empath. So I
Yeah,
do
yeah,
have to
yeah. You feel it
decompress.
all.
I feel it all, girl. And I didn't realize how much I had absorbed, because I
Mhm.
didn't know to have an energy protection. So this really was about purging emotions and stuff that they weren't even mine. I realized it literally came from lack and poverty, from people that I was helping in the
Yeah.
street. Not only was I a spell breaker, boom, that's my tattoo.
Man, I
Wait,
love it.
my
I just
spell
got
breaker from
I
my
just wait, look.
family.
I just
Right.
got a new one when I was in Portugal. Hold on. I just
Uh-oh,
got
here
the
we
house
go. Let me
one.
see. Oh, I love it. I think I'm
When I
about to
was in
get another
Portugal.
one too, with an Oribus with the
Why
infinity.
we in
Something
alignment?
about to happen. But all that to
Yeah.
say that I forgot what I was saying. But yeah, girl, I just totally forgot myself.
I think that, we are many women throughout the periods of our lives, and I honor them all, like literally right now, my younger twins, they finish in high school in 2 years. I'm gonna be an empty nester. And so I'm restless because I have one foot in the life I need to be in to get them to manhood. And I have
That's what I
another
was saying.
foot
Okay.
in the life I'm imagining for myself. And I am restless. And the
That, yeah, yeah, yeah.
travel and talking about travel keeps me even keel. 3 years ago, I made a decision. True story. I went to the dollar store and they had this little penny bank and it
Mhm.
said invest in yourself. And I started throwing coins and silver money in there. And I used to have this big ass house. It was like 6 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. But I needed it when I had all the kids. And I was like, wait a minute, they're leaving. And a turning point for me is my son's like, oh, mommy, we could each have 2 bedrooms. Why we need 2 bedrooms? That
No.
house was for somebody who was a multi-tiered family. And that's who I sold it to. I
Oh, you
downsized.
did. Okay. Okay.
I downsized, sold that house, took the profit, put it in the one I'm in now. I'm almost debt free because my house is
Nice.
all I have.
Yay.
I have peach trees in my yard. I have a pear tree. I have a blackberry vine.
Love
I
it.
made peach wine from my peaches from my peach
Oh
tree
yeah, we're
last
gonna talk about your winemaker, trust me.
year.
Oh, we're
The
gonna
bitch
talk
is
about it.
brewed.
But
Yeah.
that's what I was saying, that I'm so excited for you because you have been on the ride and you didn't get off the ride and just give up. You just go with it and then incorporate it as and integrate it as a part of the life experience
Yeah.
itself. It is the life
What was that saying? Let
experience.
go, be dragged. I'm good at letting go. My life is so, if it comes, let it. If it goes, let it. People, circumstances, places, things. If it comes, let it. If it goes, let it. And the level of peace I have in that. And
Right.
alongside that, a year and a half ago, I made a huge decision, and it don't seem big, but when I tell you it changed my life, I said I'm not trying to be or accomplish another thing in this life. I am going to just be, and that's the period. That's
I
the end
love
of
it.
it.
I
I'm
love
not
it.
trying to be anything, accomplish anything. I'm going to be. And part of that is being present in the now and not always, I mean, I always met my goals, but I'm not trying to, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Now it's like, yep, what we're going to do today. And I have an amazing therapist and I subscribe to therapy. It's remarkable. And she also told me when I'm sharing this with her, she says, I don't set goals anymore. You know what I do? I wake up every morning, I set my intention for that day, and that's
But
enough.
that day, right.
It's
And
enough.
that's really cool that you say that because I'm loving you. I love you so much. Because that has been my pilgrimage. I probably should have gone to therapy many times over,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
spirit and God, the universe, source
Oh,
always
yeah.
is with you
Yeah.
and guiding you. And I'm kind of, we forget. But
Mhm.
to come back to that self-realization and self-awareness of one, the spirit is always with you and guiding. And then
Yep.
everything you
Yep.
just said, I got to on my own without therapy in a way that I am always going to be me. And like I said, I don't feel any different. I just had experiences on top of that
Yeah.
stuff. And you
Yeah.
come back to yourself because you do
You
get
back to
lost for a
yourself.
minute. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you got to become present and mindful and be in the now. So even with
Right.
Elevate the Good, that was another wall I hit because I was trying to make it be this and make it be that and go viral and this and sell products and this, whatever. Nothing was bad, nothing was wrong, but it was
Yeah.
just making me get off of what the original intent was, so to speak. And then
Because
I was
Elevate the Good was supposed to be a peaceful endeavor for your
thank you.
spirit. And
And
we
right.
sometimes we try and force that, like, okay, well, let me. It's like when you have hobbies, and people are like, well, you should make money doing that, and you start doing it, and you lose your love of it because
Yes.
everybody wants to make it commercial and about money, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's some things you do you got to keep for yourself and your
Right.
spirit. Like
That
literally,
part.
my heart is my home,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
And so Elevate the Good is your home. And so you
It
can't
is
take
my
your house and
heart,
be like,
it's my
well, I'm gonna have
home.
a motorcycle gang in here. And then I'm gonna, do all this other stuff,
Right, right. Because
and
I
it was,
became more reactive. Like, oh, people like my designs. Like, minding my own life is
I
literally.
do like that shirt though.
Girl, I got look. I do have products. I'm not saying I'm not gonna do them, but I got
I do
shirts
like
and
that
hats.
shirt though.
But this was
Yeah.
another thing from Spirit after Elevate the Good because now I know it wasn't supposed to be a product. It was like, can you
But
just
it
leave
shouldn't make you
your own life?
stressful to do it. It should be
But right,
peaceful for you to
because
do it.
I was being more reactive now and not in the
Mhm.
moment. So people like it.
Yeah.
Let me make this. Oh, they like this. Oh, let me make this. Because then it's like, oh, I can make money. Oh, so it was just, and then that really shut me down because my
Yeah.
baby wasn't my baby anymore. And
Yeah.
I then took it into, making edibles. So I started a whole nother business, elevated goodies, which they are good. But I mean, it just like, it was fragmenting me and
Yeah.
mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It just like, and I'm in my hometown. I never had any, in 35, 36 years, never once thought coming back to St. Louis, barely to
Right.
visit, let alone this was going to be the place where I found myself again, because energy is real. So I took some energy with me that I was running away from, and they
Right.
would come
Right.
and haunt me every once in a while. And I came back to reclaim my creativity, my self-expression. Like, oh, is that how
But
that
you know
works?
what's funny? We love that illusion of control. But God in the universe be like, oh, okay, I see you playing. I'm gonna let you go ahead. It
Oh,
reminds
they
me of
let
my
me
dad
go
when I
ahead.
was when I was younger. My daddy is like, I knew you was gonna fall down. I just let you.
I
And the
know.
God in the universe be looking at us the same way, like, look at my child. Oh,
Now
I'm
I
gonna let
can
her go ahead and
laugh.
do that.
Now I can laugh, but through many tears and blaming and
Yeah,
complaining and
yeah.
judging and projecting my misery on other people, whatever. And I'm kind of honest. I don't know if you went on my post a few years ago. I was apologizing. I'm sorry to all the people that I complained about,
Girl.
because I went through it like, oh my God, that was always on me intellectually to the core of me. I knew it was. But I was just on this paradigm, this thing that we do in our human, especially in America, we have this paradigm that we don't take accountability, about stuff. And I had to rein that thing in. And I'm like, I have no problem saying, I'm the common denominator. My bad, y'all. That ain't what I meant. Because I'm always about love and compassion. But I was doing one of the things that was done to me, tough love version. That ain't
Yeah.
love. That's not
But you know
love.
what? I always say, no matter the question, the answer is love. And I try and operate from a place of love. And I had this conversation with a new friend recently because I sent this thing that said, all love doesn't need to be reciprocal. And they're like, no, love needs to be. And I was like, you know what? If you're giving love to get it back, is
That's
that
not
really
love.
love? You
Right.
give love, and when it's returned, it's such a gift, which
Exactly.
typically it is. But if it's not, you still need to give that love if it's in your spirit to give it, because somebody's going to take that love and parlay it into somebody else and somebody else. And it really just moves forward. You
Right.
can never
Yeah.
truly go wrong. We can give love to the wrong person, but what they do with that is we're not accountable for that.
You
If you
didn't see
gave
me make
love
that
in the
face.
first place. And because we all done it, listen. And sometimes I was like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna do it anyway.
That part. See, that was the biggest thing, girl,
I
about
know
when you
better,
were
but I'm gonna
chilling.
choose violence.
Eyes wide open. I went in many times again, but that was the impact, because it's like, okay, well, God is using me, making up my ego, using me to help them work through their thing and all. It's like, yeah, but that is ego, and you sacrificing
Yeah,
yourself to what end? That,
it
and
is a
then
humble
also, then it
endeavor.
enables them to stay in their thing. So you become an enabler. And then a lot of times you're really a karmic interrupter. So just
Oh,
like I've had to learn some stuff, you're coming in and interrupting
yep.
their process, their life, evolution, and that was a great breakthrough for me. Cause now I'm tapped out. I'm like,
Right, right. And I know people are changed by meeting me. I One of the things I learned, and I'm out here in these dating streets. The men I want or attract, they're nice, they're great, they're special, but I'm the one that's special. And when
mm,
you approach it that way, I'm for you or I'm not. And the men I would choose are special for me because I see something in them special. And that's not to
right,
take away from their specialness, but I'm special and I'm clear that I'm special and I'm not for everybody. And that's okay. The most humbling thing I've had to do, though, is be a parent. Like raising 5 Black men in a country who already don't love them and giving them a childhood. One of the things I
right,
want to do
right.
with my sons is a childhood. And one of my younger twins, like, I want a job, I want a job. I'm like, no, you better take this Black boy childhood I'm giving you. You got work and plenty of that on the other side of this. Enjoy being a young Black male in America in a time they say that you can't have tender spaces. You can't have loving spaces. I cook all the time and I make those posts, whatever the sunshines want, the sunshines can have. Because can. They don't give me any reasons to tell them no. If they did, I
Where
would,
else
but
would
they
they
clearly
get that
don't.
throw if they don't get it from home?
That part. That
Where else
part.
would they,
And
how would they know to have that as a requirement? Because like your base and what you get in home is what you take out into the world.
yeah,
You know, so your self-concept and your self-image starts with your foundation from your
yeah.
home. You know what I'm saying? So
And I hear a lot
where
of
would they get
men
that?
out. I hear a lot of grown men out here like, I don't have a soft space and I got to present this way. But I also have a lot of good male friends that talk to me in very transparent ways because I am a soft space. Did I set out to
Right.
be that? No. It's just how I navigate, how I
Yeah.
navigate with people in my life. If you talk to me about something, you're not gonna hear you never gonna be able to say, Kottavei said, and I told your business out in the street. And so a lot of people are very transparent and have these very honest conversations about relationships and love and money and child rearing. And I listen
Right.
because
Right.
you don't know, you just don't know
And then
where
that's what
someone
we have
is.
to deal with as women
Yeah,
with trying to date or be in relationship with men who are not equipped. It's not that it's not in them. They just
yeah.
weren't groomed that way. And then they're living up to an ego or conditioning. And then they want to be a certain thing,
Yeah.
but they feel inadequate or not masculine enough or whatever that thing is. So then there's that imbalance between the feminine and the masculine
But what
energies.
you don't know, you don't know. And I
And what
think
you
women
don't,
tend to
and
be
that was
more.
the thing I had to come to, not take it personal. Had to stop taking it personal and realize there was so much more, just like my presentation and what I was projecting in
Mhm.
relationships.
Yeah.
It goes both ways. You
And
can only
women
work
are
with
so
what
much
you
more
are conscious
communal.
of.
Yeah, women are so much more communal. Men will get around there,
Whatever.
watch a game, and they spent quality time, but they're not talking about
No,
anything real. But for them, they bonded, but they've not had any conversations
real
or connection
conversation.
typically
Right, right,
around
right,
things
right.
that are real. And then we get these men who are very lovely in many ways, but I will say it's hard for a person to be around me who is not healed, healing, or working on their healing. Because
Yeah, we
accountability
trigger
is a big
that,
thing for me.
or they're turned off because they don't want to look at it. So I realized that was one of a lot of things. I'm like, oh, it is me that they're
Yeah,
acting some kind of way, or they avoid, or they come
yeah,
against me, even though I'm all loving and whatever, because even whether at jobs or whatever, because
yep,
I don't go
yep,
for foolishness and nonsense. And when you're not, even as a boss or a manager or whatever, when you're not thinking about someone's, an employee's entire life, and you just
yeah.
focus on this thing. And I'm that person like, I'm gonna speak for the group. I've always been that.
I have
I'm gonna
wellness
speak
days.
for the
I'm
group.
gonna take them.
I'm like, that's foul. Don't do that. This is going on. And they looking like, but
Yeah,
we got the schedule and all that stuff. That's just not me. But all that to say that you or people in general have a way of compartmentalizing stuff.
yeah,
And we're full, whole human beings, no matter what
yeah,
environment we're in. And
yeah,
I like to show up as my full self. And I've always been a trigger since I was a kid. Now I can
yeah,
see it now in
yeah.
hindsight after this long ass journey I've been on. Like, oh, that's why they didn't act. No, they
Like,
act like
'cause
they
I'm
didn't
so
like
not
me.
apologizing for
Or
the woman
that's
I
why
am.
they act like I was the problem, whether it was at school, whatever. But it was like, because I triggered something that either they don't want to deal with, don't want to acknowledge, or they feel like this is just who I am. So they thought I'm judging. And I'm like, no, that ain't it. It was just like, if it's energetically feeling some kind of way, I can't roll with it. Because again, I feel from the collective, even right now, I haven't watched television or news in actually since 2016, but I haven't watched television like 6 years. Let me say like 4 years for real, for real. I can tell y'all what's going on right now, and I can tell you because first of all, I already told some folks what was about to happen, and now
Yeah,
I can tell just on YouTube. I told you, and they
it's
looking at me
happening
like,
now.
"How did you know?" I this I am energetic being. We all are, but I'm more tapped in. Like I knew I was something and I thought it was a problem. Now I embrace my empathy as a superpower. Like I
Yeah,
get it now. Like that was why I was sent here, to absorb stuff because I was
yeah,
supposed to also learn how to transmute and alchemize into something else, which I didn't know how to do until more recently. Like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. I'm on now, right? So we are evolving. And a lot
Well,
of
I've
people
learned not
don't
to
want to
apologize for
evolve
all the
because
women
they're
on here.
comfortable with where they are because we have been given this construct, this concept of family and roles and stuff and history and whatever. And it's like, no, that's what happened when we got under the veil on earth. We weren't supposed to stay stuck. We're supposed to be expanding and evolving and actually encouraging one another, again, while we elevate the good, to evolve and expand. So even if you leave your family, leave your home, and leave traditions,
Yeah.
that's okay. It has to
Cause I
be
just talk
okay.
about people like being about being outside. And they're like, outside? No, I don't want to go outside. I was like, y'all don't drink water either, do you?
Girl, look, you
I
know,
was
because
like,
when the
how you
shutdown
gonna go? You
happened, I'm
don't drink
like,
water and you don't go outside. I'm like,
it's scary. It's scary
the
because when we first did the shutdown, I was literally like the only human being like at a state park. And I mean literally the only car.
wow,
And I'm doing my videos trying to encourage people like, all right, y'all don't get down. You gotta get in the sun. I know what the news saying. Didn't even watch it, but I knew it. I know what they
right,
saying, but you need sun, especially if you're gonna get sick. I'm going through,
yeah,
I'm showing the total opposite. And then eventually, thankfully, now, people do go outside more where now you have to have a reservation at a state park, which is a whole other thing. But
and
I'm
pay
saying
parking
that to
fee.
say that
Yeah,
we're returning to nature, we're evolving, and then some people like heels in the ground, they dragging, they gonna get drugged, but guess what? You just gonna get stuck and you just gonna get left.
but the
Like,
shutdown was one of the most was the it was so good for me. I would get up in the
girl, it was a
morning. I
blessing
would
for
do my
me.
meditation. I would walk my 5 miles. I would make my coffee, teach my
Yes.
class, make
All that,
breakfast and lunch for my kid. I loved, I
all that,
loved it. And it made
all
me
of that.
realize that we are not meant to be locked into somebody's job, driving in traffic for 8 hours a day. I am meant to be laying on somebody's beach, eating mangoes naked,
All
just
that.
because I want to.
Girl, it was the best time for me because I'm an introvert with extrovert tendencies, which have
Right.
now reclaimed my whole introvert. Girl, I just
Yeah.
shut so much down. I'm like, people like, where you? Oh, don't worry about it. I'm good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't need all of that. And again, I am really good at it because all of the different gigs, jobs, roles that I do, I'm always around, I was always
A
around
lot of
people,
people.
working on sets and, film or television or commercial
Yeah.
this or sports and this, or I'm, actually creating these events with all these people. Now we have to come and decompress, and I have a godson, he's 9 now. And he's the same way, hypersensitive. And when he comes
Yeah.
home from school, he needs to take it down a notch where his parents are like,
Yeah.
well, do this. And I'm like, stop.
Got to
He
decompress.
needs to, because he's been overwhelmed sensory wise. Because they like
Yeah.
to call him autistic or ADHD, and I'm not saying
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
it is,
Yeah.
but I'm saying or neurodivergent. It's because we wired differently. That's all
Yeah.
it is. Just because you can't adapt and you don't have a system to accommodate that doesn't make these people wrong or us wrong. Because that's
Right.
a whole nother
Right.
thing. I realize
Because
I'm
I'm
like
pretty
all of
sure
that.
I'm neurodivergent. Like I
I'm
know
on
I am.
neurodivergent, ADHD, all that. So all
All
that
it.
to say that yeah, you got to decompress. And even if you not all of that, everyone needs to decompress. Remember back in the day on Sunday when nothing was open
Yeah. But
and you could
everybody
just
now puts their kids, I would say, because teaching high school, I teach kids, I come home to kids. So I'm always in this level of decompression. But I have crystal sound bowls that I give myself sound
nice,
baths on my porch because I need it. But
nice.
nobody in the summertime when my kids were little, people are like, oh, what camp you putting them in? What are you? They going to camp, mama. We gonna sit in my house and lay around and do as much as we want, as much as we don't. Fortunately, because I read, I've raised readers. So at most we go to the library, get some books or that kind of thing. But we were not going to overschedule. People during COVID overschedule their kids because they don't want to deal with their own kids. They don't like what they
Girl, they
raised.
realize they ain't even
They
like
had
their
them
own
for
kids.
breakfast in the morning, maybe, and a little bit for dinner. But when they had them all day, right? And they don't like what they raised. And I got so many, oh,
Yeah.
well, little boo boo not listening. Well, that's your child to raise. I'm not raising, but they send them to us as educators to raise.
Oh
Now,
my
I
God.
love on my
Bless you.
kids. I love my students and I love on them, but I'm not parents. And so a lot of parents have relinquished to educational system to raise their kids.
Which is,
And
yeah,
it's sad and unfortunate because now they don't know their kids or like their kids. And you should. I love my sons.
literally,
I like them
literally.
tremendously. I
Yeah.
like my sons tremendously, and they hold me accountable. If they hit me with the mom, mama, mommy, I'm good. Soon as they hit me with that mother, oh snap! What I do now? My bad, because I did something.
Because that's out of line. That's out. Because the thing is, people don't realize, and I have no children. I have 11 god babies. Thank you. And I was at 7 of the births. Beautiful, beautiful,
Yay.
beautiful. But all that to say that people don't realize your children are not a possession. They're not
No.
here to be molded into your vision or
Nope.
your expectation.
Nope.
They are sent here for you to facilitate their own
That
evolution.
part.
And so, like,
That part.
the family of 6 is 6 godchildren in one family. And I was at all their births, and their parents actually had conversations before they even got pregnant about how they saw this thing. And it was like,
Yeah.
these are not my children. Like, they're not
No.
like my possession. I am bringing them into this world for them to be who they are. And they are 6 different individuals, and they homeschool and all that stuff too. Cause she was like, I don't need external
Yeah.
influences, because then that dilutes who they are and their own visions in life. And I know you do that with your kids as well,
Yeah.
even though they
I
went to
call my
school.
sons, well, even they were little, any kid, like the younger children, I call them little humans. They are not necessarily children. They are fully
Right.
realized human beings. They just small.
Right.
And they haven't gained all the experiences they're going to have on this plane. And as they get them, you like to think wisdom comes with it. But I've met some 55-year-old children because they never got past that threshold of how to put the wisdom with the freshness and the youth and the energy of being a
Right.
child.
Right.
So,
Right.
like, nobody
And I
ever
found
thinks I'm my
myself in
age.
that. I found myself in that in this journey, that I was still stuck in inner child, which is not a bad thing, because at the end of the day, the inner child is what you're supposed to hold on to, but
Yes.
yet mature in the human experience. But the inner child is the one that still remembers God, remembers spirit, remembers that
Right,
you're part of
right.
the one, that you're compassion, that you're, that you're love, that what your dreams were, your soul mission, your purpose.
Yeah.
So we're not supposed to get rid of our inner child,
Nope.
outrun your inner child, but you are, maturing, like I said, in this
You
physical
walk holding
body.
hands in stages. Like, there's this book I love called The Famished Road by Ben Okri.
Oh, nice.
And it talks about that, about how we are, as babies, you're closer to the ancestors and further away. And the older we get, the more we move away from that level of spirit. And we're always tethered, but we don't always feel the tethering or honor it. We are all here. You think about how many people had to be before us for us to be here in this moment, Carla. How many people,
Yeah.
how many sets of parents, grandparents, great-grandparents iterated out for me to be here? It's mind-blowing.
It is mind blowing,
Had to
because
be here and love each other enough to make somebody, to make somebody, to make somebody, to make me.
right. And the thing is, honestly, in my spiritual journey, I really know that a lot of stuff you just said, we chose to be here, and that was a part of the forgetting. And that's why even children, like one of my, again, that same godson, the hypersensitive, when he was like 1 and 2, he was talking, and the stuff he was saying, I'm like, this dude was sent here. And he even said, I chose my mommy. And he said why he was, chose her, mostly about love, and needed to do some things and save some kids or whatever. And the things, that drawings that he would have. And it's like, he was still close to, because he was still new before we started conditioning and we all came that way.
But those
But
memories,
we
my
forget.
middle son, girl, when he was about 3, and I'm driving my car, and in the back seat, I already know he owned one because I always felt his energy. I called him my Buddha baby. We're driving, and he says, "Mommy." I was like, "What?" He was like, "When I was in your tummy, I cried." I was like, "Do I ask him? Do I ask him?" So, why did you cry? He's like, "Because I wanted to get out." But the story is, we videoed it. I never pushed with him. He had his feet up on my belly and pushed himself out. And then he goes, and that man was trying to hit me. And so I grabbed him. And on the video, he grabbed the doctor's stethoscope after he pushed himself out. And I was like, oh, okay.
See, this is
He
a part of
remembered
this.
being born.
And see, this is a part of what they're calling a spiritual awakening and enlightenment, that we're now remembering, oh my God, we're not just this thing. We really did come here as energy, and we got caught up. So we don't have to demonize it anymore, because, the Matrix or whatever, we demonize it. So we just feed in the beast when we do that. But that is what really happened to all of us, because I can remember between now and like even 6 years old, like one time I was at church with my grandmother, and I did my little Bible study, off with the kid part, and I used to
You
always
wept.
have I used to be a ferocious reader, because I mean I was my mom taught me how to read when I was 4, like I could read.
Yeah.
So and they had like, oh, if you read these chapters and answer these questions, you get some money or whatever. So I was always
Yeah.
walking up out there like this, right? But now I'm sitting in the pews with the adults, and the pastor saying what he's saying, and to this day, on one day, I know Spirit gonna show me what it was. He was saying something about Jesus and whatever, and I'm sitting there like, and they were like, so who believe in and who don't believe? Whatever he asked, that everyone clearly was why you were at the church. And I'm
Right.
like, boom, not me, because something in me said I was there. Like, that ain't how that happened. Why do y'all keep telling this story? And I remember always thinking, why do they keep telling this story this way? Because we have many
Okay, but
lifetimes.
you know what's interesting about that? What you said, because I grew up in a church, as most of us did, and people always, they like the way I move, they like the way I talk and navigate, and so they're like, well, what religion are you? And I said, see that tree right there? They're like, yeah, I got the same religion as that tree. And they're like, what? There's something greater than me. There's a universe, there's God, whatever you want to call, something greater than me. But I don't practice any doctrine. I got the same religion as that tree, because a tree doesn't try to be a tree. A tree is
And
just
it
a
doesn't
tree.
need a name. It
And
doesn't need a title.
the energy, when we're born, you say we're born here into this physical body. We are spiritual beings having a human existence.
That
And
part.
when this housing of my spirit dies, the spirit, the energy
It's
continues.
going. We didn't have so many lifetimes. We just forgot. That's the whole point. On Earth, we are in the 3D. We just in this density, and we really got caught up. And then there's a system that was on top of, because with that eclipse,
Yeah.
girl, we got the activation, so it's done. Like
When I was in,
people are remembering, even the ones who are not on the spiritual path are remembering. Like, wait a minute. And so it's amazing to me, because I saw on Instagram as just a perfect example. A young lady was talking about a friend of hers who had a baby, brought the baby home for the first time, and the 4, 5, 6-year-old sibling said, "Mommy, I want to go in there and talk to the baby, by myself." And of course, she was hesitant. It was like, okay. So she let the son go in there and close the door, but she cracked it open. He was like, "Hurry up. Tell me who I am. Remind me who I am before I forget."
oh, wow.
Because that's what happened.
But you know what's interesting? When I was in my 20s in Peace Corps in Ghana, it was me. I was one Black person in a group of 47. I'm walking in the market in Ghana. This is in the 90s. So back then I had locks. Back then, typically in the market, you only saw like priestesses with locks. This priestess came up to me in the middle of the market, and she was like, in this life, you'll give birth. You've been warriors and men in your other lives. I was like, no, I'm not, because I'm not getting married and I'm not having kids, right? Meanwhile, married 14 years and 5 sons later, I'm a warrior that even gave birth to warriors. That's how strong that energy has been in my continuum. So,
I've had plenty of people over the years who have approached me and said random stuff, seemingly. You don't know how powerful you are, and they have this whole thing. And then in my spiritual journey, I can go back to these random moments where Spirit sent them people to. Spirit spent that person. It was always these markers and breadcrumbs that we now like to call synchronicities or whatever. And when you start putting it together, then you realize we're never alone on this journey. We really did choose to be here, and God is neutral.
And I tell people, because my friends are all different religious and faith backgrounds, and I support them on their journey. People use what they need to get through this existence, and I understand. I never negate anyone's belief system. I think there's a purpose, and it serves who it serves. Yes. However, when I'm moving through the world, I want at the end of this journey for people to say she did good, she was kind, she loved, she cared enough about the people in her life to make them care about the people in their life, and it ricocheted out, and a drop in the pond became a ripple, right? That part. And so those are the things I think about, and definitely at this stage, I'm 52 going on 53, and I think, once you really get over a threshold of this physical body being here but so long, you start thinking about, like, what have I done? Who have I impacted? Who have I helped? What's meaningful? Because my grandmother, she always said, you can get and do a lot of stuff, but who gonna give you your glass of water when you're laying up sick, when you're not feeling well?
That
Who's
part.
gonna show up for you when you need another human to show up for you? And I think about that a lot. Like people
Right.
are like, oh, you're single with 5 sons, but I have people who show up for me in many ways and different ways. And there's not one person that shows up for everything. There's a variety of people
Yes,
for
yes, yes.
different things, and they willingly show up for that. But I also show up for them. My girlfriend, some of them just call me and be like, girl, can I get some of them scones or crab cakes? Yes. Why, yes, you can. When do you want them? Because,
Love it.
okay, I'm not a big eater, but I love to cook and bake. And so
That's funny.
that's a whole love language for me
Because
to
you
cook
cook
and
a
bake.
whole lot. I wouldn't have never thought
I
that you're
do.
not a big eater, though. That is funny to hear
I am
that.
not a big eater. I typically
Wow.
only eat lunch. I start off with
Really?
coffee and I move to water all day. Lunch is my biggest meal. If I eat anything in
That
the
is
evening time,
hilarious.
it's fruit or something light, and I pack the dinner for the next. I'm not a big eater.
That is so wild. I love it.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I mean, but the thing is, you're cooking with love. Because the same
Oh
way
yeah.
I love to cook, I
Hmm.
love gatherings. So I mean, I do like gatherings, but selective. Now I don't need it
Yeah,
big
that part.
because when I
That part.
do cook, I put love into everything. Even my body products, I make all natural body. I put love into it, and people call and say certain things to me, and I know because they receive the energy of it. Do you
So
remember
this
that
is
movie
funny.
Chocolat? And it was about that. Yeah, from it had
Oh,
to be
chocolate.
like
Oh, I do. That's one of my favorite
yes.
movies.
And when
Yes.
she was a chef and all of her emotions were always going into her
Yeah.
food or
Yeah.
whatever. And now, I look back on that like, oh my God, that is
It was
so
so
real
funny. So
because
this is a little known
we
fact
all
about.
are having an effect on one another energetically, whether we
Yeah.
realize it or not. And that's why, like you say, being mindful and present and intentional is
Yeah.
so important because we understand vibration and resonance because if somebody starts yelling
Yeah.
at you and they got that deep voice and you start crying, that's a sign that you
Yeah.
understand that we are affecting one another, just like if
Yeah.
someone's talking softly and sweetly, and then that makes you feel calm. So we
And
all
them
need
little
this.
black women, well,
And this is
baby,
right.
you
And
can do
that's
what
why
that
we
well,
got
baby.
to start being more cognizant of what we're putting out into the universe because our words are casting spells. They vibrationally keep traveling. Our thoughts are the same way. And that's the spiritual awakening. People are realizing it's more science and
Yeah.
biology than we ever realized, which I'm so glad about because people feel like we're separate and we're not. We're just one.
No.
We really on this
Like my
big
dad and I
old
have these
quantum field
conversations about
together.
how
Yeah,
spirit, creativity, and science are intrinsically linked. It's the world that
period.
separates them. Like even when I cook,
Sound, music, we are
very
music.
few
We have
people
our
notice
own
about me,
sound.
but very few people notice about me. But when I cook, I purposely listen to love songs
I
when
love
I'm
it.
cooking. I listen to
I love
love
it.
music when I'm cooking.
I
You
love it.
know, and the audacity of me doing that when I don't have currently my own love story, but I could not cook if my spirit is not right, bake if my spirit is not right. I have to have like a good vibration in myself to be able
Because
to do that.
we're a frequency.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We all have our own frequency. And like you say, low vibes have, the emotions of guilt and shame and fear, and then love
Yeah.
on another frequency. And that's why music affects us, which is why another thing, I ain't listened to the radio in like 6, 7 years. I can't
Oh
do
yeah,
it.
I don't do the
I
radio.
don't even know what that is. It just, and they changed the frequency of the music. So everybody's in this trance and this spell. I stopped going to concerts and I'm not judging people who do. I'm not saying, but however, be aware that just like television and the frequencies, there's a way to program you and get you to feel a certain way. That's why certain songs can make you feel all in love. Remember back in our day, we had the fifth dimension. We had Earth,
We
Wind, and
had
Fire.
Luther.
We had
This
Stevie
generation
Wonder.
don't have a
But we had,
Luther.
and they took that away and they really robbed us because it was making us elevate and evolve. And that was not a part of the big picture of
No.
our economic system because otherwise we would have been kept being self-empowered. So you see those kind of groups in the songs they were singing, it was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay,
Like
that's
Luther,
gone.
so amazing. That's one of my favorites. So amazing to be loved.
And
Like,
even now, like in the last 10 years, especially when I think about it, it makes me sad that my god babies, my god daughters, they don't know what a real love song outside of what we presented to
I
them.
mean,
But
my kids listen to old school music
But that's
too.
what I'm saying, old school.
But
But
that's
to
where they're
turn
gonna
on the
get it.
radio and listen to a song where you being courted, and they
Yeah.
like, yeah, girl, you the prize. They literally don't have that. And again, I'm not judging what's out there because I'm like you say,
But
I'm
I'm like,
being
what are
neutral.
songs with a man? You've been gone for 1 hour and they in leather in the desert, crying and kicking and throwing, snatching like stuff out the air that ain't there. I miss them songs.
What right, and that's what I'm saying. But now it's like open it, slap it, slip it, turn it over, open it
Right,
wide. Just
right.
and now
But
they
that
don't
is
know
their
the
love music. That is their love music. But
and
it's
that's
love
what I'm
music.
saying. No, but
And
it's
it's a
like
moment
no,
for that. I'm not judging it. It's a
I'm
moment
not
for that.
judging it. I'm not,
But
but I'm
but
also
but
saying
they don't have an alternative to that
that's
that
what
they're
I'm
looking.
saying.
We're
But they
starting to
don't
get
understand
some.
their intrinsic value in those type of songs is what I'm
Yeah,
saying. That
yeah,
sex and sensuality is a gift to your partner and vice
yeah,
versa. Not just because you're a
yeah.
female, it's the same way because even when you are sexually active, you're exchanging energy. And that's what
Yeah,
I mean. People are not understanding what really is happening. We thinking just having sex and we got one off and it's fun and
yeah,
it is.
right.
But then
It
you
is.
don't realize if you don't know
But
how to, again, like decompress your emotions, how do
yeah.
you make sure you get that energy off of you when you're done with the partner? Because that energy stays with you, especially as women, because we're
But you
penetrated.
know, a lot
So
of
it's
people
in your
don't
cells. That's
they
I'm
don't
telling.
concern
Look, girl, I've been
themselves
on
with
a
so
mission with the metaphysics, the quantum fit. Look, I've been on a mission.
much.
This is
Yeah,
real. I ain't just making up something. I mean, y'all can Google some stuff. So, I mean, this is the reason why I love you because I had some stuff we're gonna talk about. We have to probably do part two because you're taking it exactly
yeah.
with where Elevate the Good has evolved to energy.
Well, I think there's so much to be said and done. Like I can talk to you about it. Not everybody's receptive to like some of the conversations you and I would have or some of the conversations I have with my friends. One of the beauty I love
Thank
about
you,
my friends,
Spirit.
I love my friends deeply, but they hold me accountable. They be like, Kottavei, let me tell you this. And then they'll be like, you gonna cry boss up. First of all, I'm gonna do both. And I'm gonna call you back when I can receive this because you done hurt my feelings. And I will go sit with it and I'm like, okay, now I can hear what you're saying. But we don't let it slide when your thinking is skewed or off or could be honed for a little bit better alignment. My friends hold me
Right.
accountable. They love me enough to
Hmm.
hold me accountable for stuff that I'm just like, well, this is mine. They were like, excuse me. Right? And you want that, and you want that continual growth. I get so often
Right.
people like, you change, you change, you change. I'm like, thank you. And they're
Yes.
like, what? Because that's growth. That's growth. What you want me to stay the same? Yes, they do because it makes them comfortable. And when you grow, people around you who are not inclined to grow, you make them uncomfortable.
Right. And the thing is that's again, we got off of realizing or forgot or just never were introduced to the reality that we came here to evolve and not necessarily be stagnant. Now, some systems and constructs, if that's what you subscribe to, I'm not saying it's bad or wrong, but for those who want to go off and do something
Yeah,
different to grow and evolve, we're not supposed to make them feel guilty or bad because they're not
right, right.
subscribing to something that was traditional or our family been doing it
Yeah.
forever. It's like that's not life. That's
And
dream
I'm the
killing.
biggest cheerleader of my friends' transformations. It's not about me agreeing with it or liking it. It's like you choosing that for yourself.
Go.
Go. Do your thing. You jumping off the cliff and building your wings on the way down. You need some glue for your feathers. What can I do?
That
Like
part. And I had a
I
tendency of
yeah,
holding on too long because I've always been there. Let's go. That's why I love St. Louis like a runaway slave. Like, okay, y'all talking about the same thing. This drives me crazy. And then y'all
yeah,
trying to keep
yeah.
me down here on the ground. And I didn't even know what I was going to do. But I showed up in Atlanta with one paycheck, didn't have a job, didn't know where I was going to live. I kind of like, I hope my friend let me stay there because I just could not take it anymore because I had all this stuff going on in my head. But I could not find one person who would be like, girl, that's a good idea. Try that. Yeah. No one was like, girl, you better stay in school, girl. You better stay on that job. And I'm
Even
like,
my nieces
oh
and
my
nephews call
gosh,
me because I'm not the one to say don't do it. They'll be like, so Ani, I'm thinking about doing this. I'm like, great, do it. Because you're young. You got plenty of time for recovery as you get younger. Now, as we get older, and I like my creature comforts, the recovery is a little different. But when you're a young person, do it. Do it all.
make
Try it out.
mistakes,
Because if
fail,
you fall
fall. So
down,
what?
you can pick another
Yeah.
door.
Yeah. You're supposed
Yeah.
to, all of it. It's a ride. I have no regrets. And I did some crazy stuff. Now, some stuff, like, oh, I didn't really mean that. But at the same time, I must honestly say, at the
Yeah.
age of 58, and I even wrote this in my journal, I think I even put a post on Instagram, but I literally have no regrets. And I done did some stuff that was like, but
Yeah.
that was my journey because a lot of what is coming from me, it triggered it, it inspired. And then the big picture is, oh, that was the plan. I was supposed to go through that
Yeah.
because your greatest challenges becomes your greatest triumphs. It becomes your soul mission. It becomes your
Yeah.
purpose. So
Yeah.
even like with my family, like with illnesses and all these things that I, was like pissed off about, it became why I became a plant-based person 30 some years ago. And I, run marathons. Girl, I'm training for a half marathon, girl.
Oh,
Because
go
I used to do
ahead.
marathons. Yeah,
Do
girl, I
it.
used to run marathons in my 40s. Now I'm 58, I'm just gonna do the half one. But I'm saying that to say that the things that traumatized me and upset me and all this stuff, because even when I
Yeah.
came back to St. Louis, I'm seeing the things that I was like trying to save my people from, and I need you to eat healthy and don't do this. And then
Yeah.
people sick or dying in nursing homes and all this stuff. And then I was judging and mad and traumatized by seeing friends that I'm like, or people I grew up with, and they're talking to me. And I'm like, I know you, but you don't look, why you look 80? Or why you,
Right.
like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Or like they're, alcoholic or, doped out
Yeah.
or whatever. And not saying everybody, because, my friends, like my closest one, they still, and they still have illnesses. And so it's like, I know
Right.
in St. Louis specifically, we have Monsanto, how they're, forever have been, okay, I'm trying not to get on this, but experimenting on stuff. And, the
Yeah. Yeah.
hospitals that
Yeah.
they did what they did to the black babies, because Gregory and I were born in the same hospital. And they, he was saying the same thing, all experimentation and the chemicals and stuff that would drop down. And then, 25 years ago, I started talking about it, and people don't want to hear it because they thinking I'm judging them. But I'm like, nah, just pay attention so you can stop doing it. But then
Yeah.
here
Pay
we are
attention to what's
35 years
coming because there's
later.
so much out here now.
But here I am 35 years later, like last year, I guess I came here in 2022. It traumatized me. And I didn't know if that was the word until recently,
Yep.
to
Yep.
actually see the effects of the thing that I was talking about. And then they
Girl, that
defending
part.
the thing that is still killing them. And then it made me judgmental and critical versus loving and compassion. I came back to myself now, but I was like overwhelmed, like, why y'all letting this happen? But I had to
Well,
come back.
people
But I'm
can
just saying that was
comprehend from
then.
the
I
place
mean,
they're
because it was
in. Yeah.
traumatizing. Because these are people I love, people I
Yeah.
grew up with. I'm like,
Yeah.
but I had to come back. I had to come back to love and compassion and be like, damn, just like a lot of stuff I did, I just didn't know, or ignorant, or was in denial.
Well, ignorance and stupid. Like ignorance is you just simply don't know better,
You
and as
don't
you get
know
new ways to
exactly.
do
That's what I
things,
mean by that.
you
Yeah.
adapt. Stupid
Mhm.
is you know better, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Well,
gonna go
then
and do
there's
this
that.
anyway.
Look, then there's that too. But that's not who I'm.
And
I
I've
still have
done that.
compassion for them
I've
too,
done
because
it.
I've done a lot of stupid stuff. So there we go.
Yeah, I have too. But you hope that on the other side of those lessons, maybe the next time you choose differently, or you be. I'm a good example. Like I try to be the example. Like I went through that. I did that. I've had
That
postpartum. I've done this. So I willingly talk about my struggles because you don't know who is going to
you
be
do.
for
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what benefit is for them. But somehow when that file that's way back here comes around because it's for the person standing in front of you or the people. So I talk about a lot about my own personal struggles. I have a harder time talking about my successes. My friends like, you need to roar more. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. You do.
All right.
You do. You do.
But yeah, so
Because I mean,
life
because
is
you.
pretty good right now. I've
Yeah.
elevated my good. I've elevated my good.
I love it. I mean, and that's why I'm loving when people can go back and look at the other episode, your first
Yeah.
episode, and then see the growth and whatever. Because again, we ain't even talking about really what you do yet. I'm gonna get. I know we're like an hour in, but I probably could cut up into two different episodes. But
Okay.
but to me, this is just another way of me, because I've opened up and allowed spirit to guide me and not be so in control and have these expectations and be in the now, that is showing me this was where I really want to elevate the good to be all along, why I even started the podcast in the first place, to have these conversations. But I was only at a certain point in my own journey. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had to open up and go through a thing, and now it's full circling. And then I also now respect and know that this is not it because I get what I get right now.
Oh
It's
yeah,
going
you
to
get what
be
you
for the
get,
rest
and you
of my life.
understand.
It is a day by day, moment by moment, lifetime journey. It's not, you don't get it all. You don't get it all. There is no, and then there's no destination. And that was it. The other thing, because a lot of suffering comes from you think you got to get somewhere. And so I
Yeah.
relieved a lot of that suffering, and also now embrace that elevate the good is a living being like everything else, which is a whole nother
And
thing. I
all of
love
this
it.
is just
It's
a
a it's a
journey.
it's an energy, and I have to respect that elevate the good was inspired. Is that's why it's called spirit, because it came from spirit. It was an inspiration, because even the actual look of my logo, I was in the
Yeah.
bed one night, had just started Canva. I'm not a graphic artist person. And it was like, wake up, open the laptop, go do this, whatever. And I swear, this
Yes.
came in 5 minutes. And I actually had a friend of mine who is an artist, graphic artist. You know Tony. I think you know Tony.
Yeah.
Mhm. Raymond Thomas. He was actually slated to do my logo, and he got a little mad because I didn't go with his but I had to follow my spirit. This was given to me. And then I
But it
realized,
happens that way because, like, this is. Let me see if I can show it to you. I had drawn this, and let me see if in my sketchbook.
I love your logo. I
Let me see
love
if I
it,
get
love it,
like.
love it. I
But
remember
the
when you
words
first
say
introduced it.
incubate, grow, evolve, and so the stem of this plant growing out of her head says incubate, grow,
I
evolve,
love
and
it.
that was something I drew in my sketchbook 8 years ago. 8 years ago, and then it became my logo. I'm actually getting that tatted on too, but you don't
That's so
know.
nice. I like
You
that.
don't know. It just comes, and I always honor when spirit talks to me as much as possible.
Yeah,
Um, what
yeah.
things are supposed to be, and I think this next leg of my journey is magical already. I
Yes,
can feel it
that's what
coming
I feel.
for
That's
me,
what
and I think that's why I'm restless. I'm just like, okay, it's
I
gonna
know,
be
but we
so
gotta
good,
like,
so good. I know, and I'm
yeah,
just
because
like,
we don't have to get it all
okay,
done. We don't have to be in the
right.
moment.
But
Yeah,
my
but
whole thing is, I gotta get these last two to manhood. So
I
I'm
know,
tamping
girl.
it down
You
just a
this
little.
close. You this
I'm
close.
this close, but I feel so free in a
Good.
way I didn't. You have anchors that keep you on the ground when you really want to fly. And I've had those, but now the anchors are keeping me tethered so I don't completely fly off to the moon because I would.
Right,
So my
right.
anchors are very, very different now. And I'm grateful for them because I do need to stay, a little tethered, but also be free to fly.
Right.
Because I'm
Balance.
definitely, if
It's
any animal, I'm a
balance,
bird.
balance and
It's
harmony.
balance.
And that's the
Yeah.
thing, finding the balance, because then when you start doing that, you're almost showing or saying or sending the message that you don't trust.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like your spirit, higher self has a higher purview of what's ahead of you. Trust that I'm going to guide you to go that way. So if you go left for a minute, when you come back over here, it's still here for you, and it's going to be
Yeah.
evolved and even better, and that's a part of the journey of just really trusting yourself, to trust spirit, to have self-realization, self-awareness that you never lose yourself.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know that you have to come back home or struggle or suffer. And some people, even if you're doing well financially and got your stuff,
Mhm.
somewhere in that core, people know something's still not quite right, because your spirit, because I know it was always two of me. That's why I was
Yeah.
like, it was always felt like it's two of me. It was like, what? And then now I finally integrated and just embrace who I am for
Yeah.
myself. So I don't have to require someone else to
So
honor
you
these things.
merge the duality, and
Right,
you've done it
that part,
well,
right.
and
Because
nobody
it's like
talks
you were
about it.
saying, having these expectations of people in relationships for them to honor and, be all of this, everything you need in one relationship. And it's like, that doesn't work like that.
And I
It
also
does not.
love on my friends the same way I love on my romantic relationship. I give my friends flowers. My friends and I, we do girlfriend dates or friend dates. My best friend's a guy. We've been friends 34
I
years.
know my
And
bestie's
so,
a guy. Yep.
see, and you learn so I get the perspective, the raw perspective from both points of view. And you love on the people in your life as strongly as hard as you can. Because one thing we know, this all ends. This existence ends and you'll be in the next one. And so you may not have that chance. My dad
Right.
calls me, I pick up the phone. I don't know if that's the last time I'm gonna talk to him or he talks to me. Certain people, my phone's gonna ring, I'm going to take the call, or I'm gonna stop everything I'm doing and engage them because is needed. You
Right.
never know. Last
You
year
never
from
know. Right. Right.
June to December, I lost 7 people I love. And you don't
Oh,
know when their season on this plane is over. But I
right.
celebrate their I don't go to funerals. I don't
Mm.
do death. I do celebrating the living, like when they were here. So
Yeah, because
I
I
might,
have a
I might have
different.
to go to leave for my yoga class soon, but we got to do a part 2 of this because I feel like I ain't get it all out.
I know. I had a feeling that was going to happen because I do want to talk about your art and your winemaking and actually the foodie stuff and your because you're a poet and published author. It's just so much to talk about because you do inspire me. So even when I was in my,
Yeah,
I wasn't able to get up and like project, release
yeah,
my creativity, my
right, right.
self-expression. So I've written books and I am a poet, have been since I was a kid. People don't know that. And Spirit was finally like, so can we now finally do the thing and actually let it out and not just have it on
Yeah,
your computer or notebooks? Like, so
right,
that's
right.
where I was hindering my own fulfillment because I wasn't following through what was being channeled through me. I was doing it here, and then all my little human questioning and ego and subconscious limiting me and telling me, well, was it possible and all this
Yeah.
stuff. And now it's like, oh my God, that's why I was so
You gotta
miserable.
honor the
But
self. You gotta honor the self.
and I
Well, let's
always
schedule
think
let's
about
schedule a
you with
part
that.
2 for this because I want to pick up. This was so good. We can
I
even maybe do it tomorrow.
appreciate you so much.
I love you so much, and I can't wait for
So
this conversation to continue.
yes. So, hey, folks, thank you for tuning in. We're going to do a part 2. Check out the links. I'm going to put all the ways that you can get in touch with Kottavei, even though you didn't even get to the art because she's a
I know we
fabulous
gotta get to
artist
that.
and she does all of that. So, know that I love you. Make
I love
sure that
you
you check
too.
in, hit the like button, subscribe, and get your notifications. Deuces, peace, and love.
Keep
Bye.
elevating the good. Bye. I love
Thank
you.
you. Love
Bye.
you.